Hi, my name is Amanda Slavin. I'm the CEO and founder of Catalyst Creative. I wrote my thesis on something called the 7 levels of engagement, and I'm going to be teaching this methodology today to be able to inspire and educate all of you on how to increase engagement with your audience.
What does engagement mean? Amanda Slavin's 7th level engagement framework teaches brands like you how to quantify, measure, and grow engagement with your audience. By your audience, we mean both your leads and your customers. Before getting into what these 7 levels are and how to actually measure them, let's first talk about what engagement means. Engagement has a number of different meanings. When you think of engagement, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Maybe you think of engagement as it's defined on social media, comments, shares, likes, and so on. That's certainly one form of engagement, but for the purposes of these lessons, let's take a step back and think about engagement more broadly.
So to me, brand engagement is an emotional connection with a message. And I use that, fairly high level because a message can be something internally with your colleagues and it also can be externally with marketing. Generally, I will be speaking about marketing with this experience, but this idea of brand engagement can actually, really apply to every part of your life, including your own personal brand, with your relationships, with your boss, as well as with your audience. And the one thing I also would say with brand engagement is people are really overusing the word engagement. So it's, again, this idea of the personal connection, the emotional connection, really being able to inspire an individual to take some type of action in their own lives. That, to me, is what brand engagement involves.
In other words, engagement means connecting emotionally with your audience, with the goal of improving the way they experience your brand. High emotional engagement is the key to not just getting customers, but retaining them and converting them into brand promoters. We live in a time when potential buyers care less about what you say about your own brand and more than ever about what your customers have to say about your brand. These days, brand promoters are more critical than ever to the success of your business. In fact, 81% of emotionally connected consumers will not only promote the brand among their family and friends, but they'll also spend more. And 70% of consumers with high emotional engagement spend up to 2 times as much with those brands. That's why your brand identity needs to be grounded in clear, well-communicated values that set you apart from your competitors and resonate emotionally with your target audience. The products or services you sell should exist to support those values, not the other way around. Now, you might be asking, how do you actually measure emotional connection? How do you know whether what you're doing is working and how engaged your audience actually is? And how does measuring emotional connection help your bottom line? Through many years of consulting with brands across various industries, Amanda has discovered that most companies are simply using the wrong methods to understand the qualitative aspects of audience engagement. Those qualitative aspects of audience engagement include things like audience sentiment, value alignment, and the integration of a brand into everyday life and conversation. She's also discovered that brands tend to settle for lower levels of engagement simply because they don't realize there are 7 distinct levels. Amanda also discovered that some brands don't really understand and definitely don't measure these qualitative metrics at all, either because they don't know how or because they don't think it's effective. But here's the thing. When you truly understand how engaged your audience is with your brand, you'll be able to focus on the right marketing messaging and the right channels to actually grow and increase that engagement. Think about what engaged leads and customers look like compared to unengaged ones. Engaged leads and customers are more likely to buy from you, whether it's one time or over and over again. They're also more likely to become brand evangelists who act as ambassadors for your brand. They might provide glowing testimonials or directly refer additional business to you, whether or not they're already a customer. Unengaged leads and customers are much less likely to buy from you, either once or as a repeat customer. They're also at risk of becoming brand detractors. Brand detractors are people who do damage to your brand by sharing their bad experiences with others. But measuring engagement isn't as simple as engaged versus unengaged. Amanda has created a much more realistic and nuanced framework to measure engagement, which involves 7 levels of engagement.
When it comes to marketing, it's interesting because it's nuanced. People think that engagement goes from not being engaged to being engaged. But my whole concept is that there are these 7 levels. And the idea of thinking about your customers within these 7 levels is that you have customers that are already at the top. You have customers that are some of your most loyal customers. And you don't necessarily know how to keep them there. You intuitively know. You think, oh, we have to make sure we're following up with them consistently. We have to make sure that they're seen and heard. But what does that actually look like? So the first way that it's definitely going to help with revenue is this is going to give a framework to being able to actually know how to keep your customers fully engaged. The other way it's going to save you money is a lot of companies are just kind of trying out all these different things with spending money on marketing without really knowing what tools they should be using, how they should be targeting, what kind of messaging they should be using.
Amanda's 7th level engagement framework gives brands the tools and the foundation to actually quantify and measure engagement and to provide a framework for growing and increasing that engagement.